Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Aaron Urban. I'm excited to have you here today. So, as you tune in, grab a chair, pull it up, let's have a conversation. I'd love to know who you are. So, say your name, say where you're from, and don't be shy, ask your questions because welcome to the Career Coffee Chat Show. If you've never seen my smiling face before, my name is Aaron Urban. I'm a certified executive coach for emerging and evolving leaders. What I do is I help you remove those pesky roadblocks so you can increase your impact, influence, and income. And of course, here on Career Coffee Chat Live, we're here to help you elevate your career. And most importantly, make sure that you stand out, elevate your brand, get some career advancement, get better results, and have a better time in the future of work because we've been through a lot in the past 2 years. And we're here today to talk about how to expand your network the pirate way with Russ Johns. Now, Russ Johns is a super fun person, first of all. And I like his tagline, smiles are free, kindness is cool. And I've probably got that backwards because I'm dyslexic. But we're love to have Russ Johns on the show today. As I mentioned before, when you tune in, please say where you're from, say your name, because I want to welcome you to the show. Let's welcome Russ. Oh, hi, Deanna. Great to see you tuning in from Chicago. Great to see you. Now, a little bit about Russ, because he says kindness is cool and smiles are free. And he believes that you have an opportunity to be seen and heard as an authority. Now, if you're interested at all in expanding your network, elevating yourself as a thought leader, this is important information to know. And he also says that everyone has a gift, a mission, and value. We all have so much value and impact to bring to the world we don't give ourselves credit for. And it deserves to be heard. And he says, let's face it, it's not easy. It feels like there's 10,000 things out there. Just LinkedIn alone is a lot to navigate, and technology can be daunting. So Russ is passionate about connecting and developing relationships and helping others that are passionate about doing the same thing. So let's give Russ a big welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. Russ, it's great to have you on the show.
And thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
we can have fun all day long talking about this subject because it's so critical and needed right now. So thank you for doing the great work you're doing.
Well, thank you for being on the show because I've watched you grow and evolve over the past couple of years, and you have just expanded your network and your brand across LinkedIn and other platforms as well. And I know you have a lot of insights and value that people like me and people just in industry probably could leverage to help them stand out because it's very daunting right now. I mean, you know, the pandemic happened, right? And all of a sudden, we went to this more isolated, had to be more dependent on digital. Now it's not that digital just evolved on the scene last year. That's not what happened. We were ignoring it, and some of us thinking it was a necessary evil. We weren't necessarily leveraging it how we could.
Yeah.
And when it comes to those people in industry, we've always heard, you land your jobs through networking. It's kind of a new animal now. So I'd love to learn from you, first of all, before we get started. What got you into expanding your brand and your presence, connecting so much on the digital space? What inspired you to do that?
Well, a backstory: I've been on LinkedIn since 2005, and I've been in and out of corporate environments. Built teams and trained engineers and worked with engineers on projects. And the reality is it's all based on relationships
Mm-hmm.
and actually putting yourself out there and letting people know that you're available to help, you're actually willing to help and offer some assistance along the way, and just being human in really a simple way. And it's just like, it's not a magic or a secret sauce that is applied. There's no secret to it other than the fact that you have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to start a conversation. You have to allow yourself to be open to conversations because a lot of us are busy being busy, yet we miss out on a lot of opportunities because we're not curious enough to ask the right questions. We're not curious enough to involve and engage people like you and I and say, well, what is it that I can do to improve my circumstance, or maybe help someone else along the way? Because we all have information that somebody else needs. And right now we're living in the most amazing time in humanity where we have the opportunity to digitally transfer this information to people and receive it from people. And it's an amazing learning experience that I just get awestruck over some of the things that are taking place around me right now.
Yeah. And, I predicted a couple years ago that, Gen Z would catalyst to be that propel us into the virtual space. And I'm seeing a lot of things that have been building and hovering in the background, if you will. 2020 was kind of open the floodgates to allow us to better utilize these tools and embrace the digital space, if you will. And that's can be a little intimidating for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know for me, I received my, authorization to do LinkedIn Lives March of last year, right after the pandemic. I mean, it was the next week, and there's like, "Oh, you're authorized." I was like, "Oh, what?" Like this, here I am. I'm out in my country house. We've got a train like right there. What am I going to do? First of all, It's not perfect. Not about perfection. We were just talking about that before the show. It's about showing up. I want to say hi to Mariama tuning in from YouTube. Great to see you as always, Mariama. Great to have you on the show. And anybody tuning in at any point, please say hi. I want to welcome you to the show. And most importantly, don't be shy about your questions, because Russ has a wealth of knowledge. And one of the things I've noticed about Russ, yes, I'm talking about you right in front of you, Russ.
That's quite all right.
Is that he has this something. I don't know how to describe it. It's just this welcoming, hey, whoever you are, wherever you are in your life, you're welcome. Let's have a conversation. There's not really an agenda per se. It's just really fun and engaging. And he also uses video, not just the email. Now, me, I'm a Gen Xer. Nobody talks about us. I know we forgotten generations what we should be named. Middle child, but but we love email. Like, we can email the snot out of everybody.
Yeah.
But it's okay for information transfer, if you want to transfer information, but yeah, it's not super awesome. And as far as building engagement, and I know that when I started the Career Coffee Chat live show, I was a relative video newbie. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I watched a couple other live shows to make sure it wasn't a total disaster. And here we are today. And I'm more comfortable with video, but it takes a little bit of getting over yourself. What would you think,
Yeah.
Russ?
Well, you're absolutely correct. And here's the reality. Anyone that has ever listened to their voice after recording on a microphone or watching themselves on a camera, I don't know anyone that is comfortable with that outcome. And so part of the process of getting online or starting a podcast or a live stream or using video in your messaging is you just have to remove the ego out of the equation, dive in the deep end of the pool, and start practicing. It's like playing the piano or any instrument. The first couple of notes are going to be kind of rough, and you just have to accept that and receive it and say, that's the way it's going to be for a little while until I get smoother, until I find out my rhythm and discover my voice and get myself comfortable with what it is. Because it's you. You're you. You can't change who you are. So you might as well be comfortable with it as quickly as possible, because this is the most powerful way that we can actually transfer information, authenticity, and actually generate that visibility that everybody is working to achieve in a business. Because if nobody knows about you, they can't purchase from you. And if they can't purchase from you, you can't build a relationship. You can't discover what they're doing. You can't ask them questions. And it's just an incredibly powerful tool to build relationships with.
It is. It is. And it's a powerful tool for people in industry as well. If you're a W-2
Yeah.
professional and you want to expand your presence, instead of sending an in-mail, hey, blah, 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 or maybe you're looking for a job, it's much more powerful to send that video message or at least a voice message. Now, voice messages are okay, but I think the video message is much more powerful. In fact, I got one from, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I'm still in moving mode. I just finished moving my house. So pardon me because my brains are not necessarily 100% focused on where I need to be at all times. So, but he sent me a Thanksgiving, like happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving via video. Now I know for a fact that this particular person has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I have no idea how he took the time to send a message to, I don't know if he just picked a certain section of people or what, but that's got to be a lot of time. So that would be my next thing. And I want to say hi to Pranav from India. Great to see you, Pranav. Thank you for tuning in. And again, don't be shy with your questions. If you have questions about networking, about becoming a thought leader, about elevating your presence online, whether it's be LinkedIn or otherwise, please pop it into questions or something you're afraid of. Like me, I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid I'm going to be blah, 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 mumble mouth all over myself and not be able to enunciate, or maybe I might stumble. I might mess up. Guess what? I do it all the time on Career Coffee Chat Show Live.
Yeah.
And I don't edit it for my podcast.
That's the beauty of live streaming is the expectation is already in place that it's live. Yeah. That you really can't insert and remove ums or ahs or things that you say that or may not be as smooth as they could be. However, that's life. That's the way we talk. That's the conversations we have. And right now it's just you and I talking, having a conversation. Maybe a few other people will hear it, and down the road, a few more people will hear it. And the beautiful thing about it is, Aaron, is that this information will continue to carry on its value. And that's the real magic of it is the value of what we're saying right now will continue to be heard, and somebody that needs this information, needs to hear it, will be able to receive it. So
absolutely. And that's the beauty of video messaging. And Mariama mentioned, she goes, yeah, that's so true. People don't know about you. They won't buy from you. And the same thing, if they don't know about you, they won't hire you either. Yeah. And that goes for even if you're going for an internal position. Do you know how many times I've heard, well, I really want this job. I was like, okay, well, have you talked to anybody about, your goals? Well, no, I figured they would know because I work really hard, and it doesn't work that way. We need to communicate. We need to open our mouth and talk about it. You have to communicate. And how we communicate now may be very different, particularly with remote work. Yeah. So building that rapport.
It just struck me that you were saying that, Aaron, is I worked for an organization that I loved working for. I was in, radio, television, broadcasting, and, the organization that owned the Seattle Sonics at one point in the Northwest. And within that organization, here's a clue, is if you don't like the position you have in an organization, you can either create one or go find another one in the same organization and become an intrapreneur that you can go discover other opportunities within the organization. If it's an organization that is open to that opportunity. And I think within that organization, I had probably 5 separate positions in the organization during my tenure there. And it was half of those positions are positions that I created and proposed to management to say, hey, this position is needed and necessary, and here's why. And it was created. So when you start thinking like an entrepreneur inside an organization
Or a
and start
pirate.
promoting these ideas, yeah, it's just an opportunity. You just have to negotiate and say, here's why it's needed. Every company goes through a budget proposal. Every company goes through a yearly end. They have to figure out what they're going to do for the next year. And if you get in there and start having those conversations, you can take it anywhere you want.
Right. And you know what's so important about this conversation right now, it struck me, Russ, is that last week I was part of a panel with American Marketing Association, and it was nationwide, I believe, was broadcast. And one of the things we're talking about was answering the question, should I stop job hunting or looking for a career advancement during the holidays? And the answer was resounding no, don't stop, because right now they are creating the budget for next year. And they're creating now those job recs and the finances will need to be approved in the first quarter, but they're creating that now. So if you're thinking, I want to be an intrapreneur or exitpreneur, depending on what you're looking at, say you're actively job hunting and you like XYZ company, you need to start having those conversations now and internally as well, because they're creating those recs now. And it's so important to have the conversation. And I tell every client, create a business case. And that sounds like what you did, Russ. Would you like to share a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. Well, here's a short story to a long journey. Is that in 1987, I was working in an outdoor. I started in advertising in 85, and I was actually installing billboards on outdoor advertising. I was also a musician, and I was playing music, and I was, working on the side and doing all these side hustle things. And I've always had a side hustle. And so in 87, I fell 3 stories off of billboard, that's a long ways. And I grabbed a hold of a ladder on the way down, and it basically destroyed my right arm, shattered my elbow and my wrist, and did a bunch of damage. And as a result of that, I was off on rehab for 2 years trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and, it's kind of a major change in your activities. And the company that I went to work for actually came back and said, we want to have you back. So then I became the safety director and wrote national programs on fall protection. I reduced their insurance rates. I increased and improved their safety programs. And this was across the nation in the outdoor industry. And so I wrote all of these manuals. And as a result of writing these manuals, I had to learn technology. So I got involved in computers. So then I went from safety director to IT director. So
I love it.
As we were transitioning from an IBM System 36 to client server technology, and at that time it was NT and the
We're
PC.
Talking dinosaur here, by the way.
Yeah. My point is those are 2 completely separate training, evolving. And I was training safety. I was training CPR. I was training defensive driving. I became a firefighter and an EMT at the same time. And so all of these transferable skills allowed me the opportunity to say, I'm going to learn something new, and I'm going to go into a new area that I'm interested in. And so I created this position. I proposed it, and then I put it together. And so that's one area that I transferred my knowledge into another area, completely different area of business.
That's very interesting. And I took a risk one time and created a position for myself as well along the way. I was a senior project manager, and it's not that I didn't like what I was doing. I was just tired of it. Like I felt like I had reached, okay, I know everything there is to know about this industry and this business and project management, this space. And I'm bored. And I really love improving things. Like I really love improving business processes and making people's lives better at work. That's what I really love to do. I really love making I like making things efficient, organizing the crap out of everything. That's what I really like to do. If you want to boil it down, okay, that's what I really love to do. So I was like, I can make this company operate better, but how do I have this conversation? Well, the VP of operations position became available, totally out of my league. However, I applied anyway because I knew along the way I would get to have key conversations with individuals within the organization. And they would get to know me beyond what I did in my job. Because that's the thing. I mean, when we're working in corporate and really anywhere, they know you for what you do at your job. They really don't memorize your resume.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't know everything about you. And unless you communicate it, they have no way of knowing. So I had these key conversations and I ended up meeting with the CEO of the company, mid-sized company. So it was a high-level position. And he nicely asked me basically, well, why are you applying for this job? He was very nice, very professional about it. I said, well, Stan, I was like, it's not that I actually want the job. And he was like, oh, really? He goes, kind of, but I'm not here to waste your time.
You kind of like, what do you mean you don't want
right?
it?
Not here to waste your time. And I told him just what I'd said. You only know me for what I do day in and day out. And I have all these other skills and abilities that I can bring to the company and add value in this way. And I outlined the position. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to do. And I feel like I can bring, at that time, it's continuous improvement, Lean Six Sigma type work. I can help this company do business better and save money. And who doesn't love to hear that, right? So it wasn't much longer that they actually create a position for me.
Exactly.
I had to come up with a business case, right? And that's what we oftentimes, we don't necessarily do that. We think of career advancement. We're like, well, I have to wait for a position to open up. Well, maybe not, actually.
No.
Yeah. And then it's about
that's why putting yourself out there, and everybody's uncomfortable with it at first. However, you have, like I said in the intro, you shared it. Everyone has value. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has a mission that they know innately inside that they're willing and able to do and help support someone in their world, whether it's in a company or in a community or in their own family. There's a way and a mechanism that you can actually provide value. Right. And I think as humanity, we're all willing and interested in creating some value and providing some value and helping others, especially as we get a little more experience in our lives. And I think the one thing that you have to realize is that the only way you can add value is if you actually allow people to understand the value that you can create, just like you did with the CEO. It's not that the position was important to you. It's what the position would allow you to accomplish in your journey and improvement, and that Six Sigma cycle of improvement, the iteration of how can we do things better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when we're thinking about how to put ourselves out there, so you mentioned, putting yourself out there is a little uncomfortable. I'll also share that I became a influencer in my industry totally by accident. I got on LinkedIn way back in the day too. I think LinkedIn had, 6 figures in followers at that point or something. I mean, it wasn't a whole bunch, it was just starting out. It had been on the market for a couple of years. And at that time you could write articles. So, hey, I'll get on, create my profile. I'll share information because I have this new position. And while I knew people in my industry, I was the only person at the company that did that thing. And it was kind of lonely. So I wanted to share best practices and talk to people and get to know people within the industry. So I wrote my first article, which was the power of Post-it notes. And Post-it actually contacted me and said, can we promote this? They were really nice about it. I was like, can we promote it? I was like, sure, should have got paid for it. But anyway. And I forget that article has like, I don't know how many thousands. I mean, it's well over 15,000 views, but it's like way down there in articles. It's the only thing I have about LinkedIn. It's like, LinkedIn, make it easy to find your articles because I have to like drill down there. It's like way down there. But I got
That's
spoiled because it was
awesome.
the first one. But from then, I was kind of hooked. So I started
Yeah.
sharing, right? I started giving back to
Hmm.
the community. And when we're thinking about, elevating ourselves, elevating our influence, it's not in what other people can do for you. It never has been. It's
No,
about
it's
what
what
you
you
can
can do
do.
for other people.
Right, exactly. And you do such a fantastic job of it, Russ, because you do this a lot with your Pirate broadcast, which is also live on LinkedIn, I think YouTube, and where else are
Yeah.
you live too, Russ? I think you're live in a couple different spaces.
Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Twitter, and Twitch.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So, and you do this Pirate broadcast really for other people. I mean, yes, the people get to see you in your face, but by
Yeah.
by creating the space where
Hmm.
people can share and talk about what they do and the value they add, that really starts to create a lovely cycle
Yeah.
of relationship building. And what's been your experience with that?
Well, it goes back to this idea, Aaron, that it's hard to uh, it's hard to how do I explain it? It's really difficult to feel sorry for yourself or feel down when you're lifting other people up. And when you're highlighting people, the same kind of concept is when you're highlighting other people and you're curious about what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they help people. It's really amazing the energy that comes out of it, and some of the conversations that you can have that are unscripted, un you know they're not even thought of when you start the conversation. But when
Mm-hmm.
your curiosity comes out and you're asking questions about how they got where they are or what they did and how they do it, and it's amazing the kind of information that can be generated naturally. And I just think it's if you can lift people up and help people out and serve others, it's just a great way to share amazing information. And I've always thought of it that way because um, years ago I used to deliver office supplies. I used to work for an office supply store, and I was always curious about these nondescript buildings that had a label on them. And I was always like, I would walk in and I said, what do you do? Why do what do you, how do you serve people? It's like, well, we make widgets for this industry. And it's like, how did you ever think of that? And why did it start? How did it start? And I was always curious like that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how did this take place? How did this evolve? And it's the same thing. It's like you had this journey in your business, you had your journey in this life. Some experiences weren't necessarily comfortable. It might not
Mm-hmm.
be what some would consider successful. Other things you would consider them successful or by certain measures. And it's just really, it's about the experience along our journey and how we can actually get involved in humanity and actually share these stories. Because like every student in high school gets asked, what are you going to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you graduate? All these things. It's like, you don't
Right.
have enough information really to
No idea.
decide what it is you enjoy.
I want a job.
And yeah, it's like, I just want a job. I just want to earn some money. And
I
it's like,
want a
okay.
job. All right.
And we're in this environment now where you could actually go out and as a high school student, you could actually interview people on LinkedIn and ask them about a job or a position and say,
Mhm.
what does it mean to be a senior project manager? What skills are actually necessary to know? And
Mhm.
what do you actually have to do in order to accomplish that position?
Mhm.
Because being a project manager is not exactly what everybody thinks it is, that people
Right.
are not in the industry.
Yeah.
So
It's,
you know
it's,
and i've
it has
i've
its, it
been in
has its
project
pluses
management
and
for years.
minuses. It
Yeah, it has it,
has its
and it
moments.
does have a certain amount of soft skills that are required, and some positions have
Oh,
soft
but
skills.
project managers, not only recently has that become a thing, because when I was a project manager, that was not the case. They're like, it's true grit. You got to, push through. It's all about, I had to learn the
That's
hard
not in the
way
scope of
that,
work.
yeah,
That's outside
right.
the scope.
Yeah. Well, right. It's not, I don't have time for chit chat. I don't have time to get to know you. I mean,
Yeah.
we have got work to do. And that
Yeah.
bit me in the butt hard.
Yeah.
And
We
if you
got
want to read
timelines
about
and
it,
durations.
it's in my book. I
Yeah.
wrote about that because that was
Have you met your milestones?
yeah, that was yeah, right. Have you got your milestones? I've met milestones. Yeah, but it was perfect for me. He was a very goal driven, you know, what's next kind of person. And I forgot how important the in-person experiences, getting to know people, which is where you really excel, Russ. I have to say, you do such a fantastic job. I mean, just listening to it, wouldn't you agree, those of you who are tuning in, wouldn't you just want to sit down and talk with Russ and talk to it and share and just, I mean, he does, doesn't he? I'd love to hear from you tuning in, either whether you're listening now or the replay later, because you do. You just have this welcoming, hey, I want to hear your story. And that's the thing, you know, when we start thinking about reaching out to people, we get kind of hung up in, what do I say? But you're just being openly curious.
Yeah. That's the thing that has allowed me to start more conversations and build more relationships than anything, is just be curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just be curious.
Being curious and being present for somebody.
Yeah. And I think when you remove the outcome, the dependency on the outcome, you know, especially in the sales arena, everybody has an outcome, you know, goal. I have to achieve this goal. Yeah. Even with project management and, you know, projects, it's like, okay, we're here to achieve this goal. If you could take it and before that starts, understand a little bit about why they're motivated, what motivates individuals, what triggers them, you know, what allows them to get excited about things. What are they excited about? And you just learn a little bit about people, and it just allows you to understand how to communicate with them. And I think it's really important for people to understand that it's not us and them. It's not it's not win or lose. It's how do we negotiate and collaborate together for a mutual outcome.
Yes.
And when you sit down at the same side of the table and say, how can we work this together? You know, how can we make this work? You know, we all have challenges. I want to contribute to this outcome. Right. Then it's a different conversation entirely. So
yeah, it truly is. It's a completely different dynamic. Mariama says she agrees 100%. Woo-hoo. Does anybody else agree with that, or do you have a dissenting opinion? You know, she also says, you know, valuing people for who they are is so important, and creating space for the people to be comfortable, just to share. I think we've forgotten in our very busy, distracted world and society how important just the experience of the conversation. Because it's really a sacred space, and people don't look at it like that. They think it's transactional. They have transactional conversations. But Russ, you have a very different approach. And I noticed that early on, the very first video message he sent to me, which I was like super uncomfortable. I was like, oh crap, he sent me a video message. Now I feel obligated to do the same. I don't know how to do that, you know. I hope my email will work because I'm a Gen Xer.
It's like, what's the message? Don't leave me a voicemail because I haven't checked voicemail since 1995. Right. Text me if you want to talk to me.
Yeah, text me or send me a video. So, but yeah, it's the very first video. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. Was it engaging? No. Yes, because I was like, here's this dude, you know, pirate broadcast guy. He's reaching out, he's saying hi, and it was just very warm and comfortable because the conversation is really a sacred space. We had these transactional conversations. It wasn't a transactional conversation. It was just a curious, hey, you know, would you like to have a conversation? I'd like to get to know you. You know, I'm curious about you, what you do. I'd love to hear your message. And, you know, I mean, how comfortable is that? You know, making it easy for people. You make it easy for people. You do.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I'd love for you to share, if you don't mind, Russ, you know, what really inspired you? Is it part of that curiosity that inspired you to start doing the video reach outs and expanding the pirate broadcast and all that messaging that you do, which it's a lot. And you grew your subscriptions from I forget what to what in a very short period of time. If you wouldn't mind sharing that would be great.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think more than anything, you know, because I did come from, advertising, radio, and television, and I worked in this technology space as it relates to, broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
I came to the conclusion when I lived in Houston and I was actually building networks out, because 6 months after moving to Houston, I was introduced into the corporate orphanage one more time as as an exit from they just moved me down there. They paid a lot of money to have me relocate from Seattle to Texas to Houston, and all of a sudden they say, hey, your position is eliminated. It's like, oh, thanks. So out of necessity, the mother of invention. Yeah, it's like, okay, have a nice day. And so out of necessity, I started building communities and networking, and I continued. I built speaking events and networking events, and built all of these activities up. And then I got back into radio and I broadcast. I was live streaming high school varsity sports and doing all these things. And I think it's just an evolution of what can take place. But the real magic was seeing that the digital space, which is, pretty on and off, didn't have a lot of community around it in the conversations. So what I wanted to do with the Pirate broadcast is have an easier approach, have a live stream where we could actually bring people on, share what they're doing, highlight their business, highlight what they're promoting and sharing, and then just have a conversation around it. And the thing that made it, I think, big in the beginning was I did 500 broadcasts. I did 5 days a week, every single morning at 7 a.m. Arizona time. I was consistent. I showed up. Even when the guest didn't, I was still there. I was doing the show. And and also even on holidays, I was there. I was just like, boom, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna show up and produce results. I've since, after 500 episodes, I've scaled it back to 3 days a week, and I also do other activities around that. But the reality is I think showing up, Aaron, and just being available and present, I think has a huge impact on growing a community around an idea, building motivation and momentum around this concept that kindness is cool. Smiles are free. It costs absolutely nothing to help somebody out. Yeah. It's like there's no downside to it. And so that's kind of the way I frame it is just, being present and consistent across the board.
Yeah. So Russ, I have a question for you. Let's just say if I was an industry person and I'm like, gosh, I really want to build my network. I'm not really comfortable with the digital space. I know there's new and great ways to do this. It's better than just an in-mail or a text message or an email. What would you say to that person? What would you encourage them to do? What new avenues would you encourage them to explore?
Well, the biggest challenge business owners have right now is time. All things being equal, time is the biggest challenge in any business, whether you're a solopreneur or Fortune 500 company. Getting the time to create the content that allows people to understand what you're doing, who you are, and how you help is one of the key pieces of content that you can create. And that's why when you're creating content that is easy to access, just like you're doing, it allows people to see you, hear your story, relate to you. It does two things. It qualifies somebody that would want to know more about you, and it disqualifies people that have no interest in whatever you're doing.
Sure.
And so by doing that, it accelerates the opportunity for you to actually do business with somebody. So even if you're not really big on cameras and you're not really big on taking the time to have a show or producing content like this, you can still have a producer like myself create a show for your business and actually interview other people and actually bring them to the table, because you have clients, you have customers, you have people that are involved in the industry, like, project management. You could create an entire show around project management and Six Sigma and interview people and become an authority in the industry for your software that serves that industry. So all of a sudden you have all this attention that is parallel to your business. So there's a lot of ways and strategies that you can actually motivate people to take action. And that's really what it's about. So if you're unwilling to take the initiative to put yourself out there for your business, take the initiative to find somebody like myself to help you with a strategy to build your business in a unique way that can accelerate that message.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Russ, for sharing that. And if you're in industry, let's just say you're W-2 professional, you just want to expand, you want to build your network, I encourage you to explore video. I think, Russ, you use Dub.
I use Dub, and I'm a huge fan. I'm actually in the process of creating a certification program for Dub.
Yeah.
And
is that on your website, russjohns.com?
Not yet, but it will be, because I just finalized some negotiations with it. So, however, as you know, Aaron, Dub is an incredibly powerful tool that can accelerate your message and build your relationships in an incredibly unique way.
Yeah,
I'm an avid fan. I'm a advocate, and it's more about, if you're not doing it, it's typically the ego that's talking, not the business. Because if you were listening to the business, you'd pick up the phone, start the videos, and put them out there.
That's right. That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And as an entrepreneur, for me, it's like, oh gosh, we're not going to have the time. But it doesn't take that much more time. It really doesn't take that much more time than tippity tapping on a keyboard. It really doesn't. If you can let go of being perfect and showing up perfectly, then that will help tremendously. And I think, Russ, you've done a great job of that. When you show up authentically. It's you. You're not trying to be perfect, and you can tell that hey, this is me, and I'm being me, and I'm trying to be overly salesy or cheesy or polished. Because a lot of people are tired of that. They're tired of the overly polished, produced stuff. Unless, that for whatever reason, branding wise, you have to have that. But when you use Dub, and Miriam asked, what is Dub? Well, Dub is you explain it better than I do, Russ, because you know all about it. So what is Dub?
Dub, DUBB.com, is a platform that allows you to share video messages and also a call to action within those messages in email, in messaging, over in LinkedIn, over on, any platform that you want. So you can actually create a simple introduction and then have some packaged videos that allow your business message to be heard, and then just introduce that and say, hey, I have some other messages here that I'd like to share with you, and love to connect with you. And then, maybe have a call to action that says book a call. And there's a lot of different ways that you can produce that outcome and that strategy with a tool like Dub. So
yeah, and it integrates with calendar apps too, like Calendly.
I use it every day. I use it every single day. Yeah, book a call. You can connect your calendar. You can actually send it out in email. It connects with Gmail. It has a Chrome extension that you can actually record screens. If you're somebody that actually does like website reviews, you can record a website and say, hey, I noticed on your website that this is really great content, and here's some things that you could also improve. Love to book a call and talk to you about your business. And
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
give you strategy all day long.
Yeah, you've got a lot of content, and I think you have. I'm a part of one of his workshops right now about how to leverage this. And I admit I have not been active because I've been busy moving. So
Yeah.
first of the
We'll
year
catch up. We'll catch up.
when things come down to normally crazy, like life is usually
Yeah.
kind of nuts. So the normal craziness,
Yeah.
so first to elevate the craziness, I will get back into it. But it's
Yeah.
really, really helpful. And what stands out to me as someone who is receiving these video messages is, number one, you took the time, and because it has
Yeah.
the what you the the impression it gives you, let's put it that way, is that
Yeah.
it takes time. When it really doesn't take that much more time. It takes a little time to set up some of the back of the house stuff, but once you have that going, you're pretty much just record a message just like you would type it out. Hey, Russ, I noticed that you had XYZ on your podcast. I'm really excited. I'd love to talk to you about it. Let's just say I'm reaching out. I want to be a guest. And
Yeah.
I'd love to be a guest on your show. And talk about blah de blah, and it'd be great to get to know you. Full stop. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you don't have to make it long,
Yeah.
right? And we get
No,
so
you don't have
much.
to make it long at all.
Yeah, I mean, we get so much more across. Our tone of voice, who we are, our personality. And when it comes to building our network, particularly in this very digitally dependent world, we're not going backwards, folks. We're not going back to the way it used to be. That is not
No.
happening anymore. The world's forever changed. So moving forward, I would encourage people to start using tools like Dub, because it makes a big, big difference in how that engagement happens.
Well, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you received an email back that said, that was the most amazing email I've ever received?
Ever. Well, I take
Because
that
I
back.
mean, some of the videos I've sent out have
Yeah.
said, hey, wow, I've
Yeah.
never received an email like that with video. And so it does make a difference. And
It does make a
like I
difference.
say, you just have to put the ego aside, dive in, do your diligence, and create some videos that you can share with your community.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
no matter where you are in your life, your career, what your focus is, I mean, it's so powerful, and having that content out there is powerful. And now I would have to say, as a career advancement coach, someone who focuses on that, if you're interested in growing yourself or your business, you have to be online. You have to have a presence. You need to create content. And please don't try to sell people, because it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work.
Build a relationship. Build a relationship. Wouldn't you rather work with people that you enjoy being around
Right.
than just anyone that shows up?
Yeah, exactly. Or someone who, I mean, how many emails do you get, or InMails, or any of your messaging apps, that people are trying to sell you something? I get at least
all the
20
time
a day. And they skim my email off of LinkedIn or my website or something. They're sending me, oh, I think you need this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know you. You didn't reach out to me like Russ.
Well, I think you need a new website and some SEO. That's what you probably need. Or
Yeah,
and along with some Bitcoin.
Yeah. Oh, Bitcoin. Yeah, absolutely need that Bitcoin. Or better yet, I need to be a part of 1,555,000 different podcast communities, because they're all great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, or on LinkedIn. I really need someone to manage my marketing and sales on LinkedIn, because we all need that.
Yes.
I have noticed though, I'm getting less of those. Have you noticed that, Russ?
Mm-hmm. I have noticed that.
So I think LinkedIn's cutting down on the bots. For sure.
I would have to agree.
Yeah, but anyway,
and
back to our
fake accounts. That's an
fake
entirely
accounts.
new episode too. So we could come back and talk about that. But
well, we could talk about that.
I just really appreciate you, and having the initiative and time and energy to put into this, because I know what it takes. I know it's involved. And thank you for sharing with the community. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing with the community. We appreciate your insights and your story and helping us understand, the evolution of the future of work that we're looking at now or for future of our society and how to effectively make relationships happen and those connections happen. Because yeah, our lives are forever changed. It doesn't mean we have to roll over and go, I can't do anything now. No, that's
No.
not at all the case. Even when it comes down to, because there's a lot of people starting new jobs this
Mhm.
season and next year. There's so many new jobs out there. Great
Yeah.
resignation, reshuffle / reset, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You're starting a new role, and if it's remote video, like
Well,
there
think
are,
of it this way. Think of it this way, Aaron. Every challenge brings an opportunity. You can't have one
Mhm.
without the other.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the sooner you decide that you're going to make a positive choice
Hmm.
with a positive outcome, discover what it's going to take and what it's going to require and what you enjoy. And if you're running away from a toxic work environment or something that you don't care for, at least educate yourself, inform, and kind of create a purpose in a direction that you can actually work toward. And like I said before, whether you're in high school or you're in retirement age, you can have an opportunity right now to reach out on LinkedIn, talk with people like yourself, get a coach, find a coach like yourself, and actually produce some outcomes that make sense for you and your current situation. Because it's really, I mean, we're living in. I just can't get over it. I mean, I'm not new to this engagement process. However, I'm always amazed at the opportunities that are presenting themselves as we continue to evolve in the technology space, and it's available to everyone. And now that people have been on Zoom for a couple of years, they're getting used to video. Video is going to increase and improve and make it easier to access. And the messaging and the quick ability to connect with somebody over video is just, it's enormous. I
Yeah.
can't say it enough.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And it's
Yeah.
certainly proven the fact that, I really enjoy talking to Russ. And I would have never, like, who's this dude? Pirate or what?
Yeah. Yeah. The
But for the
pirate.
video, it made a difference because I got to
Yeah.
know, like, oh, this is who this is. Like, I could
Yeah.
talk to Russ, sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm, 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 I'm just like easy to access. You just always connect with me. So
Mhm.
pick a
Well,
platform that works for you and reach out and we'll connect. So,
absolutely. And Russ, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Aaron, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. So,
Yeah, such a
and
pleasure. And
thank you for putting yourself out there and making it matter because it makes a difference.
well, I do my best. In fact, that has been my motto ever since I stepped onto LinkedIn and started using the platform is always a pay it forward mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the only way it truly works. No matter what platform you use, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, it's a pay it forward mentality because
Yeah.
it doesn't really work any other way. I don't know how to describe it, but the more you give, the more you get. Basically,
Yeah.
that's the way it works, and it's a very interesting concept that we have. But Russ, I want to thank you again. Well, thank all of you that are tuning in. Mariama, she said this is another awesome podcast. Thank you, Mariama. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for tuning
Thank
in. And
you.
if you're
Gratitude.
watching now or later, please don't be shy. Put your comments. Reach out directly. We'd love to hear from you. We're here, and this is why this show, Career Coffee Chat, exists. And of course, don't forget the podcast, which is available on all the major channels as well, and my YouTube channel. Don't miss a show, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that's available in the link in the comments. Russ, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank all of you for tuning in. Until later, my friends, keep elevating.